With the candidacy and the vote coming very soon for the state of Georgia, many people are wondering and spectating as to whether or not the candidates will be given a fair shot at election and as to who is going to be voted in this next term for senator. Therefore, today, when we're posed with today's question as to whether or not Georgia will be seeing another senator runoff, we can undeniably state yes. And we can do this by analyzing, number one, the basis of where Georgia's electoral college and votes are right now. Number two, analyzing how these two candidates compare with each other. And finally, understanding that with this runoff, we will see more clarity within the voter house itself and hopefully bring restoration and peace to the people. So, starting off today's speech, we have to understand, number one, what is it looking like currently within the political sphere of Georgia that would actually cause a runoff to happen? Well, when understanding this, we have to first understand and get a grasp of how the runoff works and why it might be having to implement in Georgia. So first of all, when understanding what it means to actually have an electoral runoff, that usually indicates that there is a two-party system in which a single winner has to be calculated. However, both of these candidates may have split equal ties between both parties, meaning that a runoff is needed to break that tie and thus nominate a senator. But why would we need this in Georgia? Well, going back to statistics that were done specifically by ballotopedia.org in 2022, both of Georgia's candidates are highly competent, both are highly popular. However, but having two diverging opinions, one being Republican and one being Democrat, and with the political sphere of the United States neutralizing more and more towards more libertarian or more moderate views, according to Politico Today, they stated that because of these more moderate viewpoints that are being taken in today's status quo within the political electorate, we need to have candidates that represent that. However, with a far left and a far right candidate being the tie right now for political popularity, we see that a runoff is likely going to be needed. So, with that being the case here, we have to understand who these two candidates are and exactly why this might be the case. Well, first and foremost, the two runoff candidates right now in Georgia, both highly competitive and highly competent, happen to be Raphael Warnock and candidate Herschel Walker. Now, one representing the Republicans and one representing the Democrats. We understand that according to Politico, again, they did a statistic study giving a calculated vote between Georgian voters who were asked a simple question, which was who they believed was more competent and who was more popular a candidate. But when analyzing the different viewpoints by the Georgian citizens themselves, they believed that both candidates were very competent, not only enacting better climate policies on the left, as well as better mitigation of climate, as well as mitigation of social health risks. The other believed in more conservative viewpoints in the sense that they believed in lowering the taxes and bringing more jobs and skilled workers into the Georgian state, as well as building better infrastructure. Now, again, these two things are historic and a lot of precedent in today's status quo, just coming out of a pandemic and a somewhat of an economic depression for a while in the early 2021 time period. However, when it comes down to USA Today, they explained on December 1st of 2021 that when it comes down to Georgian politics specifically, these two issues being most pressing, that on the left of being mitigation of physical illnesses and manifestation of pandemic, and on the right, the betterment of infrastructure within the state, those two issues will be the highest voting points today. So when moving on to our second point of analysis, when we're asked exactly if we're going to be seeing a runoff in Georgia coming in the near future, we can say yes, because these two pressing issues are actually both issues and matters that both the leftist candidate and the right have taken into account. Both Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker have both considered these issues deeply when analyzing what the people of Georgia actually want, which is why in both of their campaigns they pledged to not only clean up the way that we contain pandemics and social viruses, as well as bettering the social infrastructure of the state itself. And when you have two candidates that both largely agree on what they're going to do for the people, however, they both represent different sides of the political spectrum, we have to see that there's a definite reason as to why this runoff may indeed take place. Now, with that being the case, we also have to understand that because senators are elected every 6 years, we have to see that according to GPB, they stated just actually 2 days ago that when you understand Georgia's midterm election runoffs and how those are going to work, we have to see that the runners would likely further come down to just an issue of will and how much the politics and more so the state actually like these two candidates. So that's why when we go to our last and concluding point of analysis today, we have to understand that there would indeed be a runoff because of simple popularity. These two candidates, not just with their policies, but what they promise to the people, are both very qualified and very popular candidates for the presidency. However, seeing that they both advocate for very similar issues, we have to understand that for them to be nominated and one to be elected, you have to go back to how much the people actually like them as individuals. So with that being the case, the Washington Post told us on August 24th of 2022 that, first of all, with the one candidate, Hannock, he has donated millions of dollars to charities all across the state and has done multiple cleanup projects and led a large popularity for supporting the decreasing of homelessness within the state. However, again, with that being the case, thehill.com has told us in retrospect that the opposing candidate has done very similar things, not only giving lots of money to fund LGBTQ mental health matters, and also securing the state for armed shooters within their schools. But with both of these candidates doing many things to sway the popular opinion of the state, both of them have enacted just as much popular representation when it comes to the media's liking for each. And so concluding today, we have seen that in three key areas of analysis, yes, there will have to be a runoff between these two candidates in Georgia, and we can say yes by number one, starting with a baseline understanding of the politics in Georgia, to which number two, we have followed into understanding why runoffs are needed in the first place, and lastly, concluding with an analysis of the popularity of each candidate to realize that both of these candidates are indeed competent, but a runoff will be needed to understand who will win the election. Go Georgia. Thank you.